This system is called Cerberus Help Desk, and it's for managing correspondence with customers, technical support, and sales questions, and so on. Whenever you receive an email, it's captured by this program, and it's kept in its database. So you have search functions, you have a history of other emails from the same person, and it's all kept in one thread. So you can scroll down and see what else has happened related to a certain case. So it's a very convenient thing.
It's bug tracker.
Well, it's not focused on software development, but you can use it for such purposes as well. And let's say this guy sent us an email asking a question. I hit reply, and I type my text. So normally there's a very long response. You think about it, you spend a lot of time crafting this message. And normally you press send and send it, but there is a button called discard right here. And sometimes you can accidentally press it. And if you notice, it's also bigger than the send button, slightly bigger. So it's an easier target to hit. And if you press it, your text is lost. Control Z doesn't do anything. If I press reply again, it's gone. And there is no way to bring it back. Which is why personally I developed the habit of typing something and then I select all and copy it in the clipboard in case JavaScript fails, in case the connection breaks, or it usually happens. Tsunami. So I always do this, and in case I misclick, I can go back. But this is an example of a not so good interface because it makes it easy for me to make that mistake. So let's check out the points we've discussed today. One of them is fits law. This widget is very close to the one which I normally need. It's also bigger, which makes it...
It's nearer to the center, by the way. It's more in focus.
It is just at the bottom of these checkboxes.
Yeah.
So it's more possible to be clicked than say.
It feels natural to be clicked. Yeah.
Maybe it's easier
It's
to
logical
compare with
I
feel
Gmail.
that I will do it.
We will do a Gmail comparison in just a few moments because that's an interesting comparison. I've done it today. So I will take a screenshot of this and paste it here.
Wow.
So what they could do is, if I were them, I would put this button somewhere far, somewhere there.
And I thought you were aiming with the mouse. That exactly.
I would also probably make it smaller.
Maybe it should be an icon, not a button in general.
Maybe on the text, not an icon.
And it's interesting that there are other things here, such as add attachment or whatever. Spell check, which is a common thing to do, but they made them small.
Poke user.
And so this is not the best way to get this job done. So one thing is move the button away from the target, which is the most common target. The second thing we can do, still being in the context of fits law, is make it smaller.
Make the target bigger.
Or make the send button bigger,
Yeah,
such that it captures attention. You can also make it blue or
Lush
green
green button.
We can make a function that will do the send button bigger, like how much if you have a lot of text, button is bigger, and you type more, and button is bigger and bigger
Yes,
and bigger.
and the discard button will always flee away from the mouse when the mouse is near.
is there anything else we can do? What do you think?
To duplicate maybe send button.
Auto prompt.
Exactly. So if I press discard, it could at least say, hey, you're going to lose that text. Do you want to save it?
Go away.
Yeah, but it doesn't do that. So it could at least ask for a confirmation. What we see so far is that this is a very unforgiving interface. And I thought, let's check out what others do. And I went to Gmail because they have something else. They have automatic saves for your drafts. Even if you didn't press the save button, it saves it automatically. And another thing it does when you type an email, I press discard. I was expecting that it would throw a warning or something, but it doesn't. No, it did something else this morning. Let's check. It's, no subject. Okay, difficult to find. I should have written the subject. Okay, let's repeat the experiment.
So remember, it just discards.
Okay, so I'm doing this. I have to wait for it to do an autosave,
Yes.
I guess.
In this case,
Yeah, then it
Save now.
stays.
And if I press discard, it does this. Your message has been discarded. Undo discard. So it gives me an undo option. So even if I made a mistake, I can undo it. So it's forgiving. And the advantage is that it doesn't disrupt my workflow. If it were a pop-up message or a message box which takes focus, I would be forced to go there and say, no, I really don't need it. But in this case, if I need it, I can press undo. If I don't need it, I just ignore it. So this way, they did a pretty clever thing. They don't disrupt the workflow, they are forgiving. And this makes it nice to
I
use.
wonder what we can do without pop-ups at all. I mean, without pop-up windows which capture focus.
Perhaps, as long as they can notice the notification. In this case, it's yellow, and notice that it's the only yellow thing on the whole screen, which is otherwise white, bluish, grayish.
yeah, in this case, you should have some
Unless
special
you change your
notification
theme.
area
Yeah, sure.
that will provide you with.
As he specified, unless you change your theme.
Because
So,
my theme is red,
and
kind of orange.
we should check out what happens when you change the theme. Will the notification also be yellow?
I had the
No,
terminal thing.
it will have the color of the thing. No.
I heard the terminal
I have
thing, do you know?
Android.
I've seen it. I've tried many of them.
Yes, and it was it complied with that thing.
Okay, so they did it.
The right.
They thought about it very well. They implemented it in such a way that it captures attention regardless of your theme. What else could they do? I think they could also completely remove the discard button. Because if I want to get rid of this text, I can rely on the browser's standard features. One of them is just close the tab. Another one is go back. Or use the hotkey to go back. Or I could refresh the page so it would reload it. In this case, the presence of this button simply makes it probable that somebody will click it once.
That's true, but I think that users still need a discard button. I can easily imagine a user reaching a situation when they want to discard the message, and then they don't see the discard button and they get stuck.
Yes, but specifically
Because this is
for this
send button. So they
Test,
need
test.
a kind of asymmetry.
Let's see if I press reply again. You see what it does? It discarded the message.
Yeah, but
it
it
lost
says
my
reply.
text.
You know, there is no button which tells me discard, and I want to discard my message. What should I do?
reply.
Okay, if you don't need the message, you just need to read the message, so you just read it. If you completely forgot about this page, just close this page, close the tab, close the browser.
But it is not the solution, so you turn off the application.
Well, I can close just the tab if I don't need this anymore.
The idea is that your browser is your sandbox right now, and if you imagine that you can't close your tabs, you should somehow close this part of the.
So maybe there should be a button that simply undo all the messages that you put there and refresh the page. But there should be written somehow mentioned that
Yes,
what
it should be
it
clear,
does. It's
because-
not clear
Okay.
by closing the tab
But
or
What
refreshing.
are people's expectations when you refresh the page? What normally happens when you press F5 or...
My mother doesn't know
About
what
refresh
is
at
I think
all.
it's
refresh.
not intuitive for.
The problem is that they don't even think, they don't even try to expect anything when clicking a button.
Okay.
They just they just click and then something happens and they are, oh,
Come on.
wow, this has happened.
Mhm.
That's very familiar.
So you disagree with the idea of removing the button
Yes.
entirely?
Yes.
I'd rather have it there. Yes, it gives me a feeling of safety.
Of power, feeling of control.
And it's somehow more correct to do this by clicking a button than closing the browser,
Formally
shutting
correct.
down the
Capture.
system or stuff like that. You violate your
Oh, I generally like the
mailbox.
idea.
Sanity.
I like the idea of not having a discard button at all, but because it's really unnecessary. But the alternative solutions may not be that intuitive for the dumbest user to cope with.
Okay, but wait a second. If this is a web-based system, it's used via a web browser. So it is expected that people are familiar with the features of a web browser, such as back,
No.
forward.
Backward,
I don't
yes,
think so.
but F5 or refresh, come on.
I-
Not everyone.
Okay,
Yes, I
so
agree.
what if I press back? I am back to this screen where I came from.
But
Yes,
it's
but
somehow
I don't
wrong.
know. Maybe this message
Not
all
intuitive.
We
was
can
sent.
test. Yes, it might have been sent indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, if I'm
Maybe the system was.
if I'm
somehow
a
made
paranoid
sensitive,
dumb
then
user.
you
Yeah.
refresh or maybe then you
Okay,
close
so
and stuff.
this brings us to another idea that systems have to reflect their current status adequately,
Yes.
such that we know what happens, such that we don't end up guessing. Did it send the message? Did it discard it? Was it
You
delivered?
can show a pop-up like go back and then it shows your message has been discarded. Undo.
Yeah, like Gmail
Yeah.
does.